I'd like to open up the regular village board meeting for the village of Shorewood on May the 28th in the year 2019. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Diane, roll call, please.
Mayor Chapman,
Here.
Dan Anderson.
Here.
Steve Brockman.
Here.
CeCe DeBold.
Here.
Barb Kirkland. Tony Luciano.
Here.
And Dan Warren.
Here. Let the record show there's a quorum. The regular village business can be done tonight. Before we move on to something special here, I'd like to know if there are any citizens that wish to address the village board tonight. If not, we do have a special guest, a special honored guest, the state's attorney, Mr. Jim Glasgow. If he would step forward, please. Long-term state's attorney for Will County. I'll give you a hand. I think has done an exceptional job for the county. We appreciate the work that you put in.
Thank you, thank you. I consider myself very lucky to have this job because it provides so many creative outlets to help people. And I wanted to come here tonight just with regards to Rookie. I've used the drug forfeiture money that I've seized for a lot of different projects. Some of the money laundering money, I bought the veterans a bus, and I bought some vehicles for the Forest Park Center, the Spanish Center, the Girls and Boys Club. These are at-risk kids that fall victim to gangs and drugs very easily. And by having these opportunities to get to the zoo and to, athletic events, educational opportunities, it can change their lives. But keeping them away from drugs requires dogs like Rookie. Every municipality has to have one, and obviously the larger ones have more than one dog. Out on the street, if you're going to deal with your drug dealers, you got to have a talented dog. And you also have a beautiful dog, by the way. No offense to the other dogs, but that is probably the most handsome dog I've seen. But, it started with Shanahan. They came to me and asked me if I could help them with that project. And then, obviously when Chief Klima gave me a call, I said, sure. And then Rockdale, Elwood, Wilmington, and Park Forest came along. And I was just down in Rockdale, and it's a town of 3,000 people. And it's kind of neat. It's just, that dog is the center of their universe. The police chief who, they said, we're just a little department and nobody pays us any mind. He said, but recently, because of our new dog, Roxy, we've been called out to do support services on 3 different things. So now they're taking notice of Rockdale because of our dog. And he also said that the children at the local school love the dog. That's the second part of having a dog. You can do the safety checks in facilities that are used by your youth. And if you find drugs, the purpose isn't to make an arrest, it's to intervene, to get the parents in, seize the drugs, and get treatment for the child. So that's absolutely critical. I've got 5 dogs that work for me. And it started in 2012 with the Pause for Kids program for our Children's Advocacy Center. And if somebody had told me 10 years ago that I'd have dogs working for me at the state's attorney's office, I'd say, you're crazy. And so we have 2 of our dogs also work in the courts, in the problem-solving courts. So they're in Veterans Court, Mental Health Court, Redeploy Illinois, and Drug Court. So these people come out of jail, and they're sitting in the courtroom, and all of a sudden a dog comes up and starts licking their hand. And they're transported to a different place, and they're in a much better frame of mind to deal with the significant issues that put them in those specialty courts in the first place. And our success rate has clearly shown the effect of the dogs and what a wonderful change that they make. I came up with another creative crazy idea called the League of Extraordinary Canines, and it kind of evolved from what I've been doing over the last 7 or 8 years. We just had a meeting with all the rescue groups and the humane societies The initial part of that is when I seize dogs in court on cruelty cases, I don't want to turn around and put them in a small cage at Joliet Animal Control on the taxpayer's dime. I now can pick up the phone and call one of the local rescues or the local humane societies and have the judge order that the dog be placed with them. It'll be in a much better environment while they're awaiting adoption, and their adoption is almost certain. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to getting that going. But animal abuse in Will County is a hodgepodge. It's a patchwork. There's a lack of sensitivity at various levels. There's a lack of training. Sometimes the animal control officers apparently don't go through evidence collection training. Well, when I'm at the courthouse, I got to prove guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. So I can't guess. They've got to have the same kind of scientific techniques we use in a murder case in an animal abuse case. And my chief investigator, Louis Silich, I believe he's a Shorewood resident. Is the Luvon Field in Shorewood? Okay, well, Lou's right by here. But he is going to give free training, throughout the county to various people in the animal abuse business. Give you a quick example. We had a case of some pit bulls that were being very badly abused, and one of the issues was the size of the chains that were being used, because a chain can't weigh more than 1/8 of the dog's weight to be legal in Illinois. Well, all they did was take pictures of the chains. Well, that doesn't do me any good in a courtroom. I have to have the chain, I have to have it weighed, and I have to have it weighed on a calibrated scale that I can prove the scientific accuracy in court to get it admitted. And then I have to admit the chain. Well, that's the kind of training that we're going to give. And so that when the case does come to my office, I can do an effective prosecution. We've got the ASPCA coming on the 30th of July for their second training that they'll be doing here in Will County. They did a two-day training at JUCO last year, and it's going to be 3 days this year. And any one of you are welcome to come. It's open to the public, but it's obviously geared for law enforcement and animal control. And ironically, on the 29th of July, that'll be the 20th anniversary of the animal torture bill that I wrote back in 1999. I just want to tell you about that because when I went to Springfield, somebody set a cat on fire in Joliet. And that's a very depraved act. And the studies clearly show, the FBI studies clearly show, that mass murderers always tortured animals before they became Gacy or Dahmer. And so it's a very serious crime. But I went to Springfield, 20 years ago, and they literally were laughing at me in the hallway saying, "Glasgow, you want a felony for the abuse of an animal?" I said, well, hear me out. First of all, I'm here for the animals, but secondly, I'm here for the humans, because the FBI clearly shows there's a direct correlation between cruelty to animals and violence against human beings. And that's been, settled for years now. In that law, I put in a mandatory psychiatric evaluation of the offender upon conviction, which means that this report would come back to the court. The court would determine what type of psychiatric care or medication this person should be on while they're on probation, or if they're going to prison when they come out. And that's critical. And also now there's a flag on their rap sheet, so if people do start disappearing, you got a suspect. Dahmer was free to run loose for as long as he did because none of his neighbors ever reported him for what he was doing. Plus, it probably would only have been a misdemeanor back then. So we've made a lot of progress. But lastly, I look forward to working with all the municipalities on getting a uniform anti-cruelty law that every municipality can adopt so that all the police officers know exactly what it is. And it'll be like second nature to them when they're out there enforcing. You contract with Joliet Animal Control for your... Will County. With Will County? Okay. Will County's getting a new facility built, and hopefully they'll be able to increase their staff. And I have an attorney that I've dedicated solely for this purpose, and so that when they call, they're going to get somebody who's trained and both skilled on the law and skilled in the courtroom to make sure we can win these cases. But bringing everybody together, everybody from citizens to the rescues, the humane societies, the veterinarians, the canine officers, the detectives, and my office, so that we're seamlessly communicating. With this social network that's available today that causes us so much heartache, we can use it for good. We can stay in constant contact, and anybody that has an issue with animal abuse can reach the right person with the right knowledge to solve the problem. We've got a bill in Springfield right now that will allow the breaking of the window on a vehicle, when it's 100 degrees out and the interior temperature is 130 and the dog looks like it's about ready to pass out. It didn't pass last year, so hopefully it's going to edge forward a little bit this year. I've written a lot of legislation. Sometimes it takes time. You got to bring a bill back more than once before it finally gets to the right ears. But hopefully that'll pass this year. Not that we're looking to have people, running around shopping centers breaking windows. We all know that it's going to be the rare case that you can't locate a policeman or some first responder to get to the animal before you have to break the window. It'd only be in the very extreme cases. One knucklehead from Chicago said, "Well, we'll have dogs running all over the place." I don't think so, but that's the kind of nutty opposition you get when you go to Springfield. But thank you so much for letting me come out here tonight. One last thing. Lisa, what's the date again in September? September 7th, we've got our annual Men Who Cook for the Children's Advocacy Center. And we just had an accreditation review by one of the state authorities, and they were really impressed with the incredible counseling that we have at our Child Ad Center now. Lisa Lass has been the director for the last 3 years, and she wrote a $1.5 million federal grant that we're using to keep these counselors in the position that they're in right now, to provide that in-house counseling for trauma and family counseling that's unmatched at any other center in the state of Illinois. And that's really the key. We work with your local police officers for the enforcement of the child sexual abuse cases. And there'll be an assistant state's attorney and a DCFS worker at the initial interview of the child. And then we work with your officer as the actual in-field investigator. Some other centers have in-house investigators. I don't think that's a good idea. I think working with the municipalities is the best way to go. And also we can put most of our resources into the counseling, which is curing that horrible scar that's on that child's mind that will be there forever, but helping to heal it as much as possible so they can put it to the side and live a productive life. So, again, thank you so much for letting me come out here. This is one of the nicest city council chambers in Will County. You should be very proud of this building and this facility. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you hey, Chief, would you like to say anything? You usually do.
So, I've known Mr. Glasgow for about 20 years, since I've been working. I mean, he's a class act. He's always been supportive of law enforcement, specifically the last 5, 8, 10 years for us. The Child Advocacy Center and all the other services that they provide are essential. We've used it far more often than we'd like to talk about, but we are one of the departments that use them per capita as much as anyone else. So I think it was 19 times last year, and we can't do that kind of work without their assistance. And then, of course, he brought up Rookie. So we wouldn't have Rookie today if he didn't was a catalyst with the donation to start that down the pipe. So we're very appreciative of him and his entire office for all the support they provide us in the village.
Okay. I believe the board would reiterate your words, okay, to the state's attorney. And I'm glad you made it out here. Sorry about the voice. It's a little tough. The one thing, I've never been introduced to the dog. Well, I'll come down. How's that?
You want a picture with me?
Now, what is he specifically trained for?
He's trained for narcotics, so cocaine, meth, heroin, and cannabis, and also tracking and article search. So you can find articles if somebody's dropping them as they're running from the scene.
Okay. Is he here for any other reason tonight?
Just to say hi to everybody.
Okay.
Wonder what that lady's name is. that wrote
Okay.
The grant, did you get her name? I didn't either, so
All right.
it's so fast.
Okay, we'll get on with the regular meeting here tonight. It's, is Rookie staying for the entire meeting? Okay, yeah, we already met.
Right.
Hey, officer, thanks again. Okay. We're going to move on to tonight's consent agenda, which consists of approval of the regular meeting minutes for May the 14th. Also, approval of accounts payable in the amount of $506,346.41. Are there either of these items, would a trustee like removed for further review? Or are there any questions on tonight's consent?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second. Okay, Diane, roll call, please.
DeBold,
Yes.
Warren.
Yes.
Luciano.
Yes.
Kirkland. Yes. Brockman.
Yes.
And Anderson.
Consent agenda stands approved. Are there any communications to the board, Diane?
Yes. Well, you have the Tree City USA Growth Award.
Right. We'll go ahead and get. I guess I'm proud to say, even though we've been through a rough time with trees, I'm sure every person on this board has had somebody talk to them, and probably not nicely either, about the tree that had to be taken out from the front of their property. And more than likely, it was an ash tree. I mean, there were other trees that died, just natural causes, but the ash tree was attacked in the entire northeast area of Illinois and states around us, so. It was the decision of the village board to remove ash trees from the village of Shorewood that were under our control, which would be the parkway trees. That process started a few years back, and it just went through the village. And like I say, we've all had our conversations with some residents that weren't very happy. Understandable. You've had a tree out in front of your house for 25, 30 years, and the village comes along and says that it has to go. We all felt sorry for that. There was nobody up here that was getting kicks out of those trees being taken out. But the Arbor Day Foundation has also recognized the village as good tree managers. They're aware of what we were doing to clean out the ash trees and replace them with various types of trees to allow us to have many different types in the parkways in case there's another attack on a certain species. If there is, it won't happen to us again like it did with the ash borer and the ash trees. This year, we were awarded for the first time, it's a growth award from the Arbor Day Foundation. We've been a Tree City USA for the past 11 years. and receive that award each and every year. This is a step up. And I'd like to read what this would be for the press and a press release, okay? Shorewood, Illinois was named the 2018 Tree City USA by Arbor Day Foundation in honor of its commitment to effective urban forest management. The community also received the Tree City USA Growth Award for demonstrating environmental improvement and higher level of tree care. Shorewood achieved Tree City USA recognition by meeting the program's 4 requirements: a tree board or department, a tree care ordinance, an annual community forestry budget of at least $2 per capita, and an Arbor Day observance and proclamation. The Tree City USA program is sponsored by the Arbor Day Foundation in partnership with the U.S. Forest Service and the National Association of State Foresters. Tree City USA communities see the impact on urban forest has in a community firsthand, said Dan Lambie, president of the Arbor Day Foundation. Additionally, recognition brings residents together and creates a sense of community pride, whether it's through volunteer engagement or public education. Trees provide multiple benefits to a community when properly planted and maintained. They help to improve the visual appeal of the neighborhoods, increase property values, reduce home cooling costs, remove air pollutants, and provide wildlife habitat, among many other benefits. More information on the program is available at arborday.org, Tree City USA. We really appreciate the award, and I think it's a really, it's a wonderful honor for any community to be presented this growth award. And we know firsthand up here at the board how much effort has gone in to the tree population in the village of Shorewood. It started back about 5 or 6 boards ago when one of the trustees actually got ComEd to donate trees that we were able to plant and grow. So it kind of got started. We went into the Arbor Day program, and I think we've really come a long way from that point. It's a shame about the ash trees, but that's behind us, and I think we should move forward and take care of the trees in Shorewood. Any comments on that issue? If not, because we have a double meeting tonight, we'll move right along. I'd like to move into tonight's order of business. Business item number 1, consideration for approval of an annual appropriations ordinance for the village of Shorewood, Will County, Illinois, for fiscal year beginning April 1st, 2019, and ending March 31st, 2020. This is up for a first read. Finance Director, Ms. Burkholder.
Thank you, Mayor. Presented tonight is the first read of our appropriations ordinance for our fiscal year that began back on April 1st. This does represent the village's legal spending authority, so it's a housekeeping item that goes in tandem with our budget. You'll notice that the total appropriation amount exceeds our budgeted amount. This is to accommodate any kind of emergency or unforeseen situation, so that we would still be within the legal boundaries of the village's appropriation. The budget still operates as our spending plan. The total appropriation is $46,505,749. This is a first read tonight. We do need a public hearing, so that will be 2 meetings from now, so we cannot take any action at this time, but I would be happy to take your questions.
Any questions for Ann? If not, that is up for a first read. Excuse.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to business item number 2, consideration for approval of the purchase and payment in the amount of $32,526.63 for sewers and storage for the police department and the village hall. Mr. Colada.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight before you is a budgeted item. There are some different servers and storage arrays related to Village Hall and the Police Department that are very important to our operations. But they are reaching the end of their useful life, and the maintenance will no longer be done on that per the manufacturers. So what we need to do is to pursue replacement of those as budgeted. The total amount would be $32,526.63. As I mentioned, this is something we envisioned and planned for in the budget, and we're seeking your approval this evening.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Colada?
Nope. Make a motion to approve the purchase of servers and storage for $32,526.63. Second.
Okay, Diane, roll call, please.
Luciano.
Yes.
Warren.
Yes.
DeBold.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Brockman.
Yes.
And Kirkland.
Yes.
Item 2 stands approved. Moving on to 3, consideration for approval of a proposal for professional engineering services with RJN Group for the 2019 smoke testing and manhole inspections. Priority sewer basin number 6. Mr. Dre.
Thank you, Mayor. I've got Joe Sullivan here if there's any questions. This is the third of our priority basins. This is number 6. It's a little smaller than the other 2 that we've worked through. Plan is to have 170 of the manholes inspected, and then once the inspection of the manhole is done, they'll go and do smoke testing, which is about 37,000 foot. Well, we've been satisfied with RJN and what we've worked on so far. This is 3rd year working on projects together. This is our investigation plan for the year is to look at this basin. We still have maybe 1 or 2 more construction projects to bring forward in the upcoming meetings.
Hi.
Hi. So yeah, this is year 3. You guys have been through this a few times, manhole inspections, smoke testing. So it's not really new to you guys anymore, but this is the 3rd priority basin from the original 2016 flow monitoring that we did, where we broke the system up into 9 basins. This is the 3rd highest priority basin. So basically it's Jefferson Street to the north, I-55 to the east, South Raven Road to the west, and Sal Road to the south.
This is a separate section, Joe, that we already haven't done.
Correct. We have not touched anything in this basin yet.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Sullivan?
Nope. It's in our plan, 3rd year, so can't explain much better than that.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposal and professional engineering service with RJN Group for 2019 smoke testing.
Second.
Diane, roll call, please.
Luciano.
Yes?
Warren.
Yes.
DeBold.
Yes.
Brockman.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
And Kirkland.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Welcome back. Moving on to business item number 4, consideration for approval of a proposal with M.E. Simpson for a water distribution system leak survey in the amount of $17,945. Mr. Dre.
Thank you, Mayor. Annual leak detection survey has been going on here for several years. It helps us with our IDNR allocation to know what our water loss is. We're able to find leaks throughout the system. Upon your approval, RJN, M.E. Simpson would start in town, and they would go hydrant to hydrant, valve to valve, and find any leaks that we may currently have. And we've been satisfied with their service so far. They've found us some pretty decent leaks over the last couple of years.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Dre?
Question. Over the years that we keep doing this, do we seem to have a reduction in the amount of leaks being found?
So last year, we were at 50,000 gallons per day estimated. The year prior was 108, but it also depends on the winter and some other factors.
I understand age of the pipe and there's some variables and whatnot. I'm just curious, it's been a successful program in finding leaks and being able to start to minimize some of our exposure and infrastructure?
Again, as the system ages, there'd be potential, other problems that do occur. A lot of the problems that we find are fire hydrants that are a problem with either the valve leaking or not being shut down all the way, so. But a majority of the leaks, it just, again, depends on the winter and it depends on the age of the subdivision.
Thank you.
Actually, at one time, they found a leak that was a pipe that crossed the DuPage, so we would have never found that. So it was leaking in the river. So it's, something
Oh, yeah,
that's
it's
gotta be
good.
done.
Nope.
Okay,
Make a motion to approve the proposal for M.E. Simpson for water distribution system leak for 17,945.
Second.
Diane, roll call, please.
DeBold,
Yes.
Warren.
Yes.
Luciano.
Yes.
Kirkland.
Yes.
Brockman.
Yes.
And Anderson.
Yes.
Agenda item number 4 stands approved. Moving on to number 5, consideration for approval of a proposal with M.E. Simpson for a water distribution system valve exercising program in the amount of $20,580. Mr. Dre.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a newer program that we've budgeted for. We've got about 1,260 valves in town with the EPA, AWWA, and ISO. And they recommend a valve exercising program to know the valves are operational and also the operating position. Without having this, we would know if, in case of emergency, if we had a valve that was closed or, again, if they were able to operate. A good example would be our valve on Sile Road lift station. It hasn't had a lot of operation, so that's stuck. Now we have to kind of work around and plan for its replacement this year. Currently, over the last couple of years, I've tried to look at our staffing to try to get this as one of our tasks, but we haven't been successful, plus some of the equipment that you use, we don't really have the storage for. And some of these are valve exercisers that are trailer mounted or vehicle mounted and take up some space. So recommending the valve exercising program for $20,580 for M.E. Simpson.
Yep. And do you expect this to be an annual expenditure or every couple of years?
Correct. It'd be a 3-year program initially, and then we'd see what that result was. They'll be able to tell us how much torque it took to operate that valve. We may actually have valves that are old that break, so there could be a good benefit in some of that to make sure we're keeping up with that infrastructure as it ages.
So it should be a 3-year,
Probably every 3 years.
and we'll come back and look at it and maybe skip a couple of years.
Have to look at the data first to be able to give you that answer.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the proposal with M.E. Simpson for system valve exercising program at $20,580.
Second.
Diane, roll call.
Luciano.
Yes.
DeBold,
Yes.
Warren.
Yes.
Kirkland. Yes. Anderson.
Yes.
And Brockman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Agenda item number 5 stands approved. Moving on to number 6. Consideration for approval of an extension of the contract for the 2017 tree replacement zones 1, 2, and 4 with the fields on Caton Farm for the 2019 ash tree replacement trees. Mr. Dre.
Thank you, Mayor. We've, as you talked earlier, removed a lot of or all the ash trees in the parkway, so this is putting some trees back in place. We have about 373 trees that are in the parkways that need to be replaced, and then there's about another 100 that are throughout different parts of parkways or parks. We've had some questions on some of the replacements on River Road, so this would cover those trees that were removed for $140,000. Fields has been a great partner. They've done an excellent job. They came in 2 years ago and planted 100 trees in 2 days. The trees are, we have less than 5% that have not grown. They've been replaced, so they really stand behind all the work that they've done, and we've been very satisfied with their work.
Yeah, you don't hear too many complaints about them not warrantying their work or their products, so.
Yeah, they've gone out to 2 years for us on some of our trees, 3 on 1 too. Very good company to work with. But we would need to waive the bid
Yeah.
process.
People that lost their trees, let's say this year, when can they expect to see the replacement?
Thank you, Mayor. The plan would be to do fall planting. Then I want to talk with the fields and figure out the diversity. Some would maybe go into next spring. Just depends on the species.
So they can actually count on a tree sometime this fall.
Majority of the homes, I think about 80% of the homes that were removed should have trees this fall upon your approval. And then the remaining 20 would be next spring, just to allow the diversity of the forestry, so.
Okay.
So you said how many do we still have to replace?
We have to replace 373.
And this one's for 116, right?
That's for 140,000, so that's about 470 trees. I don't have that in front of me.
We're still going back on the ones that were replaced, that died or whatever, and replacing those
The warranty is up on some of the ones that are south of 52 and west of River Road. So we would have to evaluate them and take a look at that. But the intent a couple of years ago was to go back and, within 2 years and make sure those trees were
But we're
successful.
monitoring that. If someone loses a tree again, they
Yes.
don't have to wait till the end of the line to get it back.
Well, this is the end of the line right now.
So I mean,
This should have enough
they
room for us
Get them
to,
replaced
yes.
as they die.
It would be in this fall, though,
That's what I meant.
yes.
Okay. Need a motion for an extension of the contract.
I'll make a motion to extend the contract with the Fields for the 2019 ash tree program.
And to waive the bid.
Waive,
I want to waive the bid, sorry. Who's that?
Okay. Diane, roll call.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brockman?
Yes.
Kirkland?
Yes.
DeBold?
Yes.
Warren?
yes.
And Luciano?
Yes.
Number 6, you might have woke up that one person that was watching us. Hey, yeah. Moving on to number 7, consideration for approval of a purchase order in the amount of $150,000 for water meters and remote readers for Core and Maine. Mr. Gray.
Thank you. This is budgeted items for $150,000 for water meter and remote readers from Core and Maine. We've got about 2,600 of the older meters left to change out. This should allow us to get to about 400 to 500 meters, depending on some of the other commercial accounts and maybe new meters that come in. This just allows staff to have the ability to purchase those meters as needed.
Okay. This is very normal thing that comes before us.
Yep. Annual.
So,
I'll make the motion for the village to approve purchase of $150,000 for census water meters, FlexNet smart points, and accessories.
Second,
okay, Diane, roll call, please.
DeBold?
Yes.
Warren?
yes.
Luciano?
Yes.
Kirkland?
Yes.
Brockman?
Yes.
And Anderson?
Yes.
Agenda item number 7 stands approved. Moving on to number 8, consideration for approval of an ordinance directing and authorizing the disposal of surplus property by the village of Shorewood. It's up for a first read. Chief Kleeman.
Evening, everybody. Housekeeping item that's a little different. Normally, it's items that we get through or get rid of through property.com or one of those mechanisms. These are weapons, they're law enforcement weapons, so there's little different rules on how we can get rid of them, so they have to go to a different entity. So we're proposing to donate them to the ILEAS Foundation, which is an authorized place that they will take the weapons and then they distribute all sorts of surplus property to departments that can use the stuff. The reason we don't want it is these are older weapons, and while they probably still have a little bit of life in them, they don't have the right stocks and the things that I want the officers to have for the versatility that we need, and to change out the accessories is gonna be more expensive. So we've got what we need, and we do not need these items.
They're being donated for use by other departments.
They're gonna be donated to the ILEAS Foundation, and then they will be raffled or sold to other police departments that can use them. So the foundation will make a little bit of cash, nothing consequential, and then they go to departments that'll be able to use them.
I thought I read in here, it was kind of funny, I seen it was being donated, but then I also said being destroyed, it's all being.
It's a destruction order for us, but it's being passed along to someplace that'll be able to use them, right? Otherwise, we would just be finding a place to melt them down in a foundry or turn them into paperweights when we get rid of the other weapons and stuff that we do.
All right. Make a motion to approve the directing of disposal of surplus property by the Village of Shorewood.
Waive the second read?
Waive the second reading.
Second.
Okay. Diane, roll call.
Luciano?
Yes.
Warren?
Yes.
DeBold?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brockman?
Yes.
Kirkland?
And item number 8 stands approved. Moving on to our final item of business, approval of payment in the amount of $1,786 to DeBold Topsoil and Trucking for pulverized black dirt.
Make a motion to pay the bill for topsoil.
Second.
Okay. Diane, roll call.
Luciano?
Yes.
Warren?
Yes.
DeBold?
Abstain.
Kirkland? Yes. Brockman?
Yes.
And Anderson?
Yes.
And item number 9 stands approved. We'll move on to reports. Trustee Anderson, Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Public Works been busy doing stump grinding and removal of the ash trees. We got about 80 left, under 80 left to go. The restoration's gonna be a little while. No dirt's available, and what I mean by that, it's too wet to get it and to use it or put it out. So, we all are, putting up with the rain, so who knows when we'll get that. Sometime I would say in mid-June would probably be a safe bet. 52 in River, IDOT has suspended the project due to weather and the remaining bridge staining work. This work will take a couple of weeks, so also probably mid-June will be started and finished up by the end of June, I would say would be a safe bet, and hopefully be done with that project. And all the lights were on. The new lights have been on now a couple of weeks, the stop light. And the old poles are out. That intersection looks good. Chris, I know I talked to you about cleaning up some of that stuff. Some of those, I think we got 5 existing power poles going each way. I mean, and there's a siren there. I mean, some of that stuff, if we could get it buried underground, just in the future, maybe looking forward to.
The siren's the only one questionable. It's a Exxon tower or siren though, so we don't know that. And Jim Parthen took a look at the way to directional bore the wire under the road.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of other
Lot of
scattered
obstacles?
utilities.
Okay.
The obstacles, yeah.
Just be nice if we could, it may not be possible to get them poles buried and get that intersection cleaned up, looking good, so. We dumped all this money in it now, we might as well finish it up and make it look nice, so. Anyway, restoration will also come along with that. And then MFT, once again, is being hampered by the weather. It's moving along. Callaway North and West have been paved. River Road's gonna be paved possibly tomorrow if we don't get rained out. And also again, restoration. And Westcom Tower, our radio tower out here at Sile Road by our salt domes in progress, are starting to get construction going, but also is being hampered by the weather, so. Slow, and that's all I have.
Quick question. Mr. Dre, when they did the lighting upgrade on River Road, I know there's a lot of, like you said, as Dan mentioned, restoration has got to be done, but I also know the MFT funds came in there, they did curb work. Do we know which contractor, or as long as we're aware, somebody's going to make all that restoration for them?
The restoration from home court to Westwood, that's all with deconstruction, and then past home court, the work now is gonna be with PT Faro. There is some work we still have that we started on the lighting project, of last year that went all the way to Ridge. We had everything cleaned up and the rain just washed all the seed and everything
No,
out.
I understand, and I just saw even this weekend, I'm sure everybody's seen it, some of those folks right there along River Road, the grass has gotten extremely tall for them, there's piles of clay from the underground. I understand it's all part of the workload that's getting done, so I just want to make sure that we know who's accounted for which part for restoration purposes for each of those homeowners.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Is that it, Mr. Anderson?
Yes, it is, Mayor, thank you.
Okay. Trustee Brockman, Planning and Zoning Commission.
Thank you, Mayor. Our next meeting will be June 5th here at the Village Hall, 7 o'clock. 2 agenda items, sign variance for People's First Bank and a site plan for Rhino Baseball. Kelly, do you have anything else other than that? Okay. I didn't get a chance to talk to you before. So it's 2 items, 7 o'clock, June 5th. Thank you very much.
Okay. Trustee Kirkland, Parks.
Thank you. Excuse me, summer registration is ongoing. Be sure to look for program deadlines. Summer camp registration is also ongoing. Check the village website for registration sheet or stop by the PNR office at Suite 102 to register. The Memorial Day ceremony yesterday had to be canceled due to the weather conditions. We just want to thank everybody who was, ready to go with it, and sometimes just can't help the way things turn out, so anyway. Upcoming events, we have our car show is this Saturday, June 1st at Seeney's Park. We'll be having the car show open to all classic, modified, stock trucks and cars. Registration runs from 9 to 11 and the show begins at 10. Spectators are free, and there's a $10 entry fee for all participating vehicles. Goodie bags and dash plaques will be available for the first 100 entries, and all will be entered in for the People's Choice Awards. Our Party in the Park is ready to start. Thursday, June 6th is the first night. It's a movie showing of Ralph Breaks the Internet. The party begins at 6:30, and the DJ and Bounce House started off, and the movie is shown at dusk. And then for Thursday, June 13th is a band night, so it goes movie band, pretty much. So Thursday night, June 13th is band night. That's Recycle the Day. And this is hits from every era, 6:30 p.m. The band will start, and the Bounce House and other fun activities. So we don't have to wait till dark. We can start early and finish early. And that concludes my report.
Okay, Trustee Luciano, Citizens Advisory.
The Citizens Advisory Committee will not be meeting until September. We take a break during the summertime. During the last few meetings, we've had discussions about recruiting new members, and over the summer, most of the members are going to try to come up with some ideas of how to get new people involved in it. So that's all I have for a report.
Okay, it won't be till September.
September.
Well, I'd like to get a motion to move into executive session for the purchase and sale of land. I'd like to entertain that.
I'll make a motion. Second.
Anything else I need to say? Changes, it changes on every 3 months. Yeah.
I'll second that.
Huh?
I made the motion.
Kenny?
Warren and Luciano.
Okay, Diane, roll call, please.
Lucian,
What I will say, and I think I can say this, that after the executive session, we will not have any action.
Correct.
From the executive section. Okay, but there will be a cow meeting afterwards. Okay?
Yep.
Diane, roll call.
Luciano.
Yes.
Warren. DeBold.
Yes.
Kirkland.
Yes.
Brockman.
Yes.
And Anderson.
Yes.
Okay. Go into executive session.